Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. We are from Group 5. We are proudly present the material for our study under the title Problem Solving and Critical Thinking. This group has 5 members. The member is Asri Dwiniar Karoma, Azhara Aulia Indah Safira, Brigita Eran Novenina Kirana, Larasati, and myself, Nadira Faza Febriana, as the moderator for this presentation. The following are the topic part of the problem solving and critical thinking material that we will explain. For the first topic, it praise criticism or feedback, workplace ethic, problem solving on a team, perception versus reality, and for the last topic is tell me about a time when. We are hoping that you can follow our presentation for our discussion later. For the first topic will be explained by my colleague Astrid Winiar.
Okay, thank you. Here I will explain about praise, criticism, and feedback. First, we have praise. What is praise? Praise is a form of social interaction expressing recognition, certainty, and admiration. Praise is also expressed verbally or with body language. Praise is also function to give appreciation for achievement obtained or for something that is worthy to praise. For example, you receive good behavior or see something beautiful and so on. Next, we have characteristic of praise. We have 7 characteristics. First, in the form of positive sentence. 2. Conveyed with certainty and honesty. 3. Use parable personification, figurative figures of speech association. 4. Make those who are praised feel proud. 5. There is suggestion and reason. 6. Reason according to fact. 7. There is a sense of attack. Next, we have benefit of praise. By giving praise or praising something, it will be beneficial such as 1. Increase self-confidence, make someone more enthusiastic, reduces the risk of depression, strengthen a relationship with someone, get positive reciprocal effect. Next, how to praise nicely. First, say it sincerely. If you say it sincerely, people will believe it more easily and feel happy because of the praise. 2. Say it with respect. Make sure that what we say to someone will not offend them and avoid complimenting their race or physical appearance because it could offend them even though we aim to praise them. And last one, say compliment at the right time. It is true that some compliments are not given appropriately at certain times. Make sure the praise is appropriate to the context what is happening around it. Next, we have criticism. What is criticism? Criticism is the act of providing input accompanied by a list of good and bad consideration regarding something. Criticism is usually widely used in a discussion. With criticism, we can build to make someone or something better than before. Next, we have criticism based on its function. First, journalistic criticism. This criticism concerns the result of research that will be presented openly to the public. This journalistic criticism is more detailed and sharper in the term of assessment because this criticism uses mass media which can influence the public perception of the quality of what is conveyed. Usually this criticism is used in critic work of art and art exhibition activities. 2. Popular criticism. This criticism is especially intended for public consumption. This criticism is easier to understand because it uses simple terms. 3. Educational criticism. Educational criticism is criticism carried out in an art education institution that aims to increase sensitivity to artistic and aesthetic aspects is an art. Next, the last one, we have scientific criticism. This criticism has an academic nature that require knowledge, ability, and sensitive. This criticism is usually delivered by critics who are expert in. Next, we have type of criticism. We have three types. One, inductive criticism. Inductive criticism is criticism that pays attention to the element contained in it. Two, judicial criticism. Criticism that analyze and explain the effect of the work based on the problem. Technical organization or writing style. This criticism is about someone greatness or habit. And last one, impersonative criticism. This criticism describes specific traits in the work and expressed in the critic response. Usually this criticism is in the form of subject persona. Next, how to give contributive criticism. 1. Start in a positive way, such as giving a statement of appreciation that is spoken sincerely and honestly, so that people feel more appreciated. 2. Avoid emotion. If you give criticism in emotional state, your response will appear emotional, making other people more defensive. 3. Smile and use body language. This will make someone feel more comfortable when conveying criticism. 4. Pay attention to the tone of voice. Maintain a stable and friendly tone of voice. 5. Avoid negative body language. This is necessary in order to future reduce in responsibility of being perceived in you are speaking in an angry condition. 6. Set your opinion specifically. The more specific the criticism given, the easier it is to understand the criticism. Focus on object point, not personal opinion. 7. Focus on the behavior rather than the person. When giving criticism, it would be better to focus on the behavior, not the person. When giving an assessment of personal characteristics, you have to be more careful because sometimes it can cause a feeling of hurt. 8. Provide helpful feedback. Helpful input will make other people change in a positive way, so convey things that can help the parties involved to do something rather than conveying things that are out or of or contour. And 9. Avoid saying too many words. This need to be avoided because it will make other people overwhelmed by the criticism given. And last one, know when to stop criticizing. Give only one or two criticism and end the conversation. Last, we have feedback. What is feedback? Feedback is the activity of two parties giving each other feedback on a topic discussion. This feedback is often found in various daily activities, especially in a business world. The function of feedback is to create a good communication in about direction. If the feedback is positive, it will be improve the quality. But if the feedback is negative, we also have to provide a solution to the problem. Next, we have type of feedback. We have seven types. First, negative feedback. A response made by communicant indicates the she understand and is willing to collaborate with the communicator on a particular topic. For example, manager provide an explanation to the staff. Two, negative feedback in the form of response made by the communicant in the form of expression of disliking or not supporting what is conveyed by the communicator. 3. Natural feedback. This response is quite difficult to understand because it cannot be translated as positive or negative feedback. 4. Internal feedback. A response that originates from oneself. For example, a communicator conveys something to the communicant and rephrase what the said of certain reason. 5. External feedback. A response is obtained from the communicant. For example, the giving communicant give an expression or response from facial expression, behavior, voice, and various movement when communicating. 6. Verbal feedback. It is response or responses given by communicant is the form of utterances such as question, response, comment, or interruption when conveying a message. And last one, non-verbal feedback. A response takes the form of facial expression, gesture, and sincerity. And how to convey feedback well? First, uh, in order to produce good and maximum response, we must to pay attention to one, uh, give feedback clearly and specifically. Give feedback clearly and specifically so that it can be understood easily. To convey it directly and privately. If you want to give negative feedback, it would be better if you don't do it in front of other people. 3. Create a comfortable atmosphere. When providing feedback, when create a warm and productive, conductive atmosphere so that all parties feel comfortable. 4. Give the feedback participant times to respond. In order for what it to be good communicant, or two-way communication are giving feedback, give the person you are talking to the response regarding this better. And last one, follow up. Follow up. After getting feedback, review the change and the follow-up process to improve performance. Okay, next material will be explained by Azahra.
Okay, thank you, Astrid. The next topic is work ethics. Work ethic is a value based on hard work and diligence. It is also a belief in the moral benefit of work, and it is ability to enhance character. Work ethic is basically the belief that work is a good moral. It is also refers to a set of values that are defined and characterized by diligence and hard work. Work ethic can as well be defined as the inherent ability of work to strengthen character. Workers exhibiting a good work ethic in theory should be selected by better position, more responsibility, and ultimately promotion. Problem solving in the workplace. Problem solving in the workplace refers to the process of identifying, analyzing, and resolving issues or challenges that arise within a work environment. It involves using critical thinking, creativity, and analytical skills to find effective solutions that address the root cause of the problem. Here is six skills for key problem solving in the workplace. First is listening skill. Active listeners are generally great problem solvers. They can listen to those around them to gather the information needed to solve the problem at hand. Second, analytical thinking skill. Analytical thinkers can identify the logical reason why a problem occurred, what the long-term effect of the issue could be, and identify how effective different solutions might be to select the most practical one. Third is creative thinking skills. Creative thinkers can balance their analytical skills with creative approach to challenges. Creative thinking skill enable individuals to uncover innovative and progressive solutions to problems. Fourth, communication skill. Problem solvers should also possess great communication skill. The ability to effectively relay complex information quickly yet successfully is a huge benefit for employers working in fast-paced environment. Fifth, decision-making skill. Those with problem-solving skills will also possess the ability to make decisions and be confident in them. This is important because most of problem solving involves making firm decisions to achieve a successful outcome. And the last is teamwork. Although problem solvers need to be independent thinkers, it is also vital for them to work well as part of team. They can motivate others to come up with the best solution and work with them to help develop and implement solutions. And this is the following details the process for resolving problems in the workplace. First is identify the problem. This step involves recognizing that a problem exists and understanding its nature. It is important to define the problem clearly and collect relevant information regarding the problem. Second is analyze the problem. Once a problem is defined and identified, it is important to analyze it thoroughly. This involves examining the causes and impacts of the problem, as well as considering constraints or limitations that may impact potential solution. Third is generate potential solution. After analyzing the problem, the next step is to brainstorm potential solution. Encouraging creativity and considering multiply perspectives can help generate a range of possibility solutions. Fourth is evaluate solution. Once potential solutions are identified, they must be evaluated on their feasibility, effectiveness, and potential impact. This may involve witness the pros and cons of each solution and considering factors such as cost, time, and resources required. Fifth is implement the solution. After selecting the most suitable solution, it needs to be implemented effectively. This may involve developing an action plan, assigning responsibility, and communicating the plan to relevant stakeholders. And the last is monitor and evaluate the result. After implementation, it is important to monitor the effectiveness of the solution and evaluate its impact. This allows adjustment to be made if necessary and help ensure that the problem is completely resolved. Critical thinking in a workplace. Critical thinking is one of the most integral soft skills to have in the workplace. Not only does it allow you to logically make sense of the information, but it also helps you solve problems both big and small and become better at your job in the process. Because of this, employers are consistently looking to hire talent with strong critical thinking skills and also improve the critical thinking of their existing team members. Critical thinking doesn't only involve processing and interpreting information well, but also the ability to use the information at hand to make informed conclusion and come up with appropriate outcome. Critical thinking skills are high valued to all professionals. Here are just some of the ways that critical thinking plays a role in the workplace. First is self-reflection. An integral part of critical thinking is being able to understand different perspectives. Someone who is a critical thinker will be able to look past their own beliefs or opinions and take the time to understand and consider new information and opposing viewpoints, allowing them to reflect on their own thought process and perspective. Second is job description. All professionals can benefit from developing their critical thinking abilities. However, there are certain fields that demand strong critical thinking skill from the onset, such as finance, healthcare, law, education, and much more. Any role where one has to analyze information without any bias and come up with the best solution possible needs to be filled by someone who is a confident critical thinker. Third is decision making. Critical thinking enables you to prioritize logic and objectivity rather than emotional response, allowing for impressive decision-making abilities even in the face of stress or high-pressure situation. And the last, remain well informed. Generally speaking, critical thinkers work hard to research relevant topics and information and remain well informed. This allows them to help drive workplace discussion forward and prove themselves as a leader amongst their colleagues. Here are the main steps involved in successful critical thinking. First is asking questions. When presented with information, get in the habit of asking high-value questions that will help you accurately assess what's been given to you and what move to make next. Second is evaluating. Once a good critical thinker sees our hard new information, their immediately insist is to discover the objective truth on the matter so that they can accept or reject it. When doing this, you are both considering potential challenges and resolutions without any bias or preconceived notion. Third is consider your source. Another factor to consider is where this information is coming from. Every piece of information that you receive was relayed to you by someone who has their own personality motivation to share this knowledge with you. A strong critical thinker assess the source of information they receive and consider the motivation behind sharing it with you. Fourth is research. To make your own opinion using your critical thinking skill, you must filter you must first do your own research on the matter, come up with a list of questions you need to ask, and use reliable search on the internet, such as education institution, or within your workplace to find your answer. Okay, the next material will be delivered by Larasati.
Okay, thank you, Zahra. And next, about problem solving on a team. Just the fact working together to solve problems is not always easy, especially in terms of how effective teams can overcome problems that occur among their members. What do you think? It is difficult to solve problems in a team? And the next, about what is TOPS or team oriented problem solving. It's an approach to finding solutions to problems that involves active collaboration from a group of individuals. In this approach, a team consisting of the members with different backgrounds, knowledge, and skill works together to identify, analyze, and design solutions to complex are difficult problems. The team-oriented problem-solving approach focus on teamwork, sharing idea, and combining different perspectives to reach the best solution. This team works together to understand the root of the problems, look for alternative solution, test and analyze each option, and implement the best and most appropriate solution. Okay, next, the importance of team-oriented problem solving. Team-oriented problem solving has several significant interests in various organizational contexts and work environments. Here are some reasons why this approach is important. Number one, effective collaboration. A team-oriented problem solving allows team members to collaborate more effectively. By combining different talents, background, and views, teams can solve problems in a more comprehensive way. As a result, the resulting solutions are richer, better considered, and have the potential to achieve better results than if worked off individually. And next, creativity and innovation. In a team, members can inspire each other and share each other creativity. New idea can emerge through brainstorming session or group discussion. And the combination of various ideas can pave the way to better and more efficient innovation. Number three, a division of duties and responsibilities. When facing complex problems, work can be divided into small tasks and delegated to team members according to their expertise. This enables efficiency and help in solving problems in a structured and systematic manner. And number four, faster problem solving. Although some problems may take longer to resolve through a collaborative approach, team-oriented problem solving allows for faster problem solving by implementing multi insight and strategies from the start. Teams can avoid potential obstacle and that might arise along the way. And number five, learning and skill development through team-oriented problem solving. A team member have the opportunity to learn from each other. They can share their knowledge and skills, which can improve individual competencies and overall capabilities of the team. Next, more informed decision. It is the last by collaborating and gathering multiple perspectives, decisions are likely to be better, informed, and more balanced, helping to reduce the risk of making decisions based on limited understanding on. Okay, next, how to bring a team together to solve a problem. Number one, communication. Communication makes sure all the team members clearly understand the problem to be solved. Explain the context, impact, and importance of resolving the problem. And communicate the final goal you want to achieve and how to the contribution of each team member is very meaningful in achieve that goal. And next, form a diverse and inclusive team. Make sure the team consists of members with diverse backgrounds, skills, and experience. Diversity brings a variety of perspectives that are valuable in problem solving. Make sure the team is also inclusive and that each member feels heard and valued. And number three, effective leader. Appoint a team leader who is effective and able to facilitate collaboration. And the leader must encourage participation from all team members, line effort, and ensure discussion runs smoothly. And number four, assign roles and responsibility. Define the roles and responsibility of each team member. Make sure all members know what is expected of them and how their contribution will help achieve a solution. And number five, use brainstorming technique. Organize structure brainstorming session to generate idea in a group. Make sure that is no criticism of ideas during brainstorming stage so that all members feel comfortable contributing. And number six, facilitate open discussion. Facilitate open inclusive discussion give each member the opportunity to speak and provide input. Don't let one or a few members dominate the discussion.
And number seven, working with timelines. Set a schedule and time limit for each stage of problem solving so that I will help maintain the team's focus and prevent problems from being forgotten or allowed to drag on. And number eight, shared decision making. Make decision collectively, discuss openly, and review the pros and cons of each option before coming to a mutual agreement. And number nine, implementation with the team after selecting a solution. Work together to design an implementation plan and how each team member will contribute to executing the plan. And the last, evaluation of result. After the solution is implemented, carry out a joint evaluation to assess whether the solution is successful in solving the problem and achieving the set goals. Okay, next about what is an example of problem solving in a team, organizational and environment. Now, so educational and environments, organization always excite and exists in activities other than academic. An organization that contains a group of people who have common goals. There are different roles and responsibility for designing, analyze, and implement work program. In organization, problems will always exist, and this case we're trying to solve this problem together. Okay, next about perception versus reality will be explained by Brigita Aaron. Okay, please, Aaron.
Okay, thank you Larasati. Right now we gonna talk about perception versus reality. In this topic, we will explore the critical gap between perceptions and reality and how it impacts our problem-solving abilities. We will learn how to bridge this gap by developing critical thinking skills and fostering a more objective approach to challenges. First, we're gonna talk about perception. What is perception? Perceptions is our individual interpretations of the world around us. It's shaped by our experiences, biases, emotions, and values. Perceptions can be accurate, inaccurate, and incomplete. Perception is subjective. It's how we make sense of the information we receive through our senses. Our past experience, emotions, and even cultural backgrounds all play a role in shaping our perceptions. While perceptions can be accurate reflections of reality, they can also be misleading or incomplete. And about reality. What is reality? Reality is the objective state of the world, independent of our interpretations. Assessing pure reality can be challenging due to perception's influence. We strive for objectivity by gathering evidence and considering different viewpoints. Reality is the ultimate truth of a situation, independent of our individual interpretations. It's the object's state of affairs, even if we don't always perceive it perfectly. Since our perspective colors how we see the world, it can be difficult to access pure reality. The key is to be aware of our biases and actively seek out evidence and different viewpoints to get a more complete picture. Right now is the perception reality gap. Recognizing this gap is the first step towards bridging it for better problem solving. The gap between perceptions and reality can lead to misunderstanding, ineffective solutions, and missed opportunities. The gap between perceptions and reality is where problems can arise. When we act solely on our perceptions without considering the possibility that they might be inaccurate or incomplete, and we risk making poor decisions and overlooking important information. The good news is that by acknowledging the existence of this gap, we can take steps to bridge it and improve our problem solving abilities. This bridge building process is crucial for effective problem solving. And then, what strategies for bridging the perception reality gap? There is four strategies. The first, Seek diverse perspective. Talk to people from different backgrounds and experiences. 2. Gather evidence. Don't jump to conclusion. Back up your claims with data and facts. 3. Consider biases. Be aware of your own biases and how they might be influencing your perceptions. The last 4. Practice empathy. Try to see things from other people's perspective. There are several strategies we can use to bridge the gap between perceptions and reality. So, perception versus reality in problem solving. Often, our perceptions of a problem differs from its reality. Our biases, assumptions, and limited perspective can cloud our judgment. Effective problem solving requires us to distinguish between what we perceive and what truly exists. So, perception versus reality is a fundamental aspect of problem solving and critical thinking. By understanding the influence of perceptions and actively working to bridge that gap to reality, we can enhance our problem solving abilities. Embrace diverse perspective, challenge assumptions, and remain open to new information to navigate the complexities of our world effectively. And then, enough for me. The next will explain by Nadira. Okay, Nadira.
Thank you, Brigita. Here I will explain the last topic with the title Tell Me About a Time When. Thinking on your feet is an important part of getting and keeping a job. Interviewers will often ask behavioral questions in this additional and technical question about actual job skills. Oftentimes, this open-ended question will begin with "Tell me about a time when." Being prepared for these types of questions and having a plan for answering them is an important skill. The purpose of this lesson is to introduce a strategy that participants can use to answer these types of questions calmly and effectively. What is a star? There is a strategy called STAR to help guide you through the process of answering this question clearly and completely. The STAR method is an interview technique that gives you a straightforward format that you can use to tell a story by describing situation, task, action, and result. In this slide, I will explain in more detail what the STAR method is in answering interviews. The first trick in the STAR interview method is to describing the situation. This means that you need to find a condition that you have experienced before that is related to the question. For example, the challenge being faced within the team with when collaborating with office college. After you have explained the condition or situation you experience, the second stage is the STAR technique is to specifically describing your responsibilities in the scenario as well as the goals or mission that have been set for you. For the example, as an email marketing manager, the target I have to achieve this quarter is to increase my email user list by 30%. The third part of the STAR interview method is the action to be taken. Once you know the tasks that must be done, what action will you take to make the task a reality? For example, holding meetings, making deadline, discussing with professional people, and to be continued. The final step of the STAR method interview is to describe the result obtained. You only explain the general result that you get when you implement this action. So that this becomes a point that can make recruiters not hesitate to recruit you. And in this slide, benefit of using the STAR method in the interview. The STAR method has several benefits in an interview context. For the first benefit is a clear structure. STAR provide a clear framework for responding to behavioral interview question. This helps to stay organized and provide structure answer. For the second benefit, exploring experience by focusing on situation, task, action, and result. The STAR method help in unearthing relevant concrete experience from the past. This makes it possible to demonstrate abilities and achievements with real example. For third benefit is make it easy for the interviewer to understand. By structuring answer using the STAR method, it helps the interviewer better understand how to operate in a particular situation. For the number four benefit is provide evidence and credibility. STAR make it possible to provide concrete evidence of abilities and accomplishment. This is more powerful than simply providing general or abstract statement about abilities. For the last benefit is a reduced tendency to decrease. By focusing on the star structure, you are more likely to stay on topic and not deviate from the interview question. This helps provide a relevant and effective answer. By following the star format, you provide structure and detailed answer, allowing the interviewer to gain a better understanding of your abilities as well as your ability to handle certain situation and produce positive result. For the last topic in this material, I have explained it. Then there is a conclusion which is will be explained uh, uh, by my college Ajahra.
Okay, that's an explanation of problem solving and critical thinking, which consists of praise, criticism or feedback, workplace technique, problem solving on a team, perfection versus reality, and tell me about a time when. The conclusion we can convey are problem solving and critical thinking refer to the ability to use knowledge, facts, and data to effectively and solve problems. It means you have to be able to think on your feet, assess problems, and find solutions. Therefore, currently, employers want employees who can think critically and creatively, share thoughts and opinions, use good judgmental, and make a decision. And the following is a list of reference materials that we took. Okay, that's enough of the material we can convey. More or less, we apologize if there are any wrong words spoken, and we thank you for your attention. Goodbye.